Good evening. It is July 8th, 6 p.m., 6:01 p.m. This is a meeting of the Norwalk Inland Wetland Agency and Conservation Commission. Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown.
Here.
Commissioner Halowinko.
Yo.
Commissioner Bennett.
Here.
Commissioner Breslin.
Here.
Klacke.
I'm here.
That is it for now. So you have 5. That is a quorum.
Awesome. Is there anyone logged in from the public who'd like to comment?
No, there is not.
Wonderful. Okay, moving on then to receipt and discussion S25-658, 38 Lois Street and 1 Bishop Street.
All right. I really don't have, I've not done a staff report to introduce this project, but I suspect that the applicant will do a fine job of getting your bearings. This is Bishop and Lois Street are off of Westport Avenue near the Westport line. It's a currently developed lot, and they're proposing to demolish the existing structures that are at the lot and construct new multifamily residences. I'll note that Catherine Knight has arrived, and it's all right with the chair. I give the floor to Attorney Sachi to do a brief summary of the application.
Yes, please. Hi, Liz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Ms. Carachetti. For the record, my name is Liz Sachi. I'm a partner at Carmody, Torrance, Sandak, and Hennessy, and I represent the owners and applicants of the property. The applicant owner are 38 Lois Street LLC and 1 Bishop LLC. The proposal before you is a significant activity application in connection with the redevelopment of this half-acre site into new residential. There are 2 parcels side by side, totaling just about a half-acre in size. The property is zoned CD3C. There is an intermittent watercourse that is off-site that I believe, and we'll get into this in just a second, that is then piped underneath the property. Both parcels are currently developed, one with a single-family house and parking and driveways, the other with an office building with also parking driveways. So there are disturbed areas and developed sites today. Present tonight, I neglected to mention this earlier, are Andy Sumalides, professional engineer with Land Tech, Eric Rains, landscape architect with Eric Rains, and Colin Grothier, a project architect with Vinefield Architecture. So as I said, what we'd like to do is take these 2 parcels and then redevelop them as 1 parcel with 2 new structures on them to create a total of 12 dwelling units across the 2 new structures. The regulated activity includes driveways, retaining walls, other improvements, and some of the structures within the 100-foot upland review area. There is no activity proposed in the intermittent watercourse, nor any impact or removal or such in the watercourse itself. The activity is within the upland review area. There's about 16,000 square feet of upland review area that will be disturbed, and the closest distance to the watercourse is about a foot. And Mr. Sumalides will show you that in the site plan in just a minute. So if you would be kind enough, I'd like to have Mr. Sumalides share the site plan, and then Colin Grothier can show you the architecturals if you would like to see those. And certainly Eric Rains can walk you through the landscape plan. And if you have any questions, me or any of the consultants, we'd be happy to answer them. I would hope that while you're considering the presentation tonight, that you consider that there isn't a need for a public hearing on this property. As mentioned, it is a developed site already, and we believe that the proposal takes into consideration the watercourse and the upland review area, and they've done a wonderful job of making sure that those will not be impacted or have any significant adverse impact on it. So at this point, Mr. Sumalides, could you share the site plan and walk the commission through the plan?
Good evening. For the record, my name is Andy Sumalides. Just bear with me, I am away and poor Wi-Fi service, unfortunately. So stop me if I'm cutting out. Let me try and share my screen here.
You're good.
So this
Screen
is
shared.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So this is the existing conditions. These are the 2 parcels. This is 1 Bishop and 38 Lois. Under this proposal, we would merge these lots. Bishop Street's here on the east, Lois Street here on the south, and Fullen here on the west. The one Bishop Street is fully developed with a commercial building and parking lot, and the parking lot goes right up to the property line. Here are these offsite wetlands to the north here, and this is where it gets piped through our property and into town's drainage system. To the west here on 38 Lois, we have a single family residence.
Andy, can you zoom in a little bit, please?
Sure.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So again, this was the commercial building that currently exists today. This is that parking lot. This is a single family dwelling and the parking lot driveway here to access the garage. Under proposed conditions, we're looking to put a new building in the general vicinity of that existing building on 1 Bishop. This single family will be torn down also, and a new 4 townhouse residential structure would go in the vicinity of 38 Lois. These curb cuts get totally eliminated. So right now you would enter the site here for this commercial lot and here for the residential lot. We would come in now off of Fullen Road here and access. These are garage bays underneath these townhouses. So you would get under these townhouses coming off of Fullen Road, and then you would continue on through here, and there's additional parking underneath this building. And you'll see that in the architectural a little bit later on. And there's some handicap and guest parking here as well. You'll see also from the landscape architect's plan, there are a few areas of pervious asphalt as well. Just for the record, we didn't take that into account when designing our drainage. A lot of times we take pervious asphalt, put that into our drainage calculations, and remove that area from our underground detention systems or any type of treatment system. So that is above and beyond. So that's not even as part of our application or part of our drainage infrastructure taking credit for it. For the proposed drainage, we'll take the 2 roof areas. And again, these pervious asphalt areas along with the asphalt drives, they will get piped via catch basins and trench drains here into a new underground infiltration system. These are 20 Cultec 300 units, the fairly larger units, and there's 20 of them. Overflows from these will then get piped into existing drainage infrastructure that ties into this existing 24-inch RCP that goes through our property. So just for the record, under existing conditions, some of the property sheet flows off of it into this wetland area. None of our area will now sheet flow off of that. Ours is all being captured and being piped into here. As you heard earlier, all of this wetland system then gets piped through our properties and into the town's drainage system. So it goes right into the town's catch basins in the road. So it just turns into a piped, basically intermittent water course through the system. And then essentially it doesn't become an intermittent water course anymore. So all the treatment that really needs to happen theoretically should happen north of our watershed of our property, where the wetland is should be more protected, let's say, right? So as it goes through our property, it basically turns into drainage. And the town picks up their drainage and we're picking up our drainage. Obviously, we're still providing treatment, infiltration, and reduction of the storm volumes up to the 100-year storm as required by the City of Norwalk Drainage Manual. But I just want to point out that we're kind of beyond the limits of the sensitivity of this wetland system and intermittent water course. So we're kind of beyond that and into the more developed area where it turns into basically a pipe drainage system. We also have, the necessary ENS controls. I won't go through all those. You guys seen the plans. The silt fence, anti-tracking pads, and the such to protect the site during construction. I'll now pass it off over to Eric Rains' office to go over the landscape architecture.
Andy, before you hand off, can I
Sure.
jump in just for a second, just to
Yep.
explain the arc that is your 100-foot upland review area? I assume that's based, the pin in the middle of that arc is based on where the water course crosses the property line, correct?
Correct.
Do we know the extent of the wetlands beyond the property line? So for example, if there were wetlands, well, I'll just leave it at that.
In here,
Yeah, I mean, because
correct. So we did
that
not,
arc might not be entirely, might not accurately represent the extent of the upland review area.
correct. So we did not, we did not flag off-site wetlands.
Okay.
We typically don't flag off-site wetlands in any instance. Typically only flag what's on our property. What we can put on here perhaps is the town's wetland line, which is very similar to where the limits of the brook are.
Okay.
I don't think it extends much on here. It might extend a little bit more into here,
Yep.
but it's not substantial enough to change the impacts, I would say, of that 100-foot buffer.
Got it. Thanks.
We can email you the previously delineated wetland on that adjacent property.
Oh, you have that. Perfect.
We do from the Pepperidge Farm subdivision.
Great. Eric?
Good evening. For the record, Eric Rains, landscape architect. Can someone pull up the drawings?
I can do that. You'd like the landscaping plan?
Please, yeah, the SPL plans. Thank you. So as mentioned just a second ago, the areas that are the rectangular, 3 of the rectangulars coming down the driveway, and then the larger one that is where the parking is permeable pavers. And as you know, the intention of those is to allow water to recharge. Around that center area is reinforced lawn, so that if there were traffic on it, it would hold up, but it would operate and function as a lawn area for the property. And then below that, toward Lois Street, is the amenity area, which is a bonded aggregate, which again is permeable, and then plantings wrap around that, with the frontage on Bishop and on Lois having various plantings at each of the new front doors. And we introduced along Bishop, there's street trees there, or trees that have a larger scale along both Bishop and Lois, intending to give the street a little bit more of a tree-lined street aesthetic. And if you move through the next sheet, Alexis, then this is the actual planting plan. So all the plant materials identified and quantified, and we'll get to the plant list on the back sheet. But if you go to one more page, it's it shows the details of planting. There's the plant schedule there, which is a mix of deciduous trees, evergreen and deciduous shrubs, and some perennials.
Eric, may I interrupt you for 1 second?
Certainly.
How would you compare the current conditions in terms of landscaping to the proposed?
Well, currently, because of the use of pervious materials, I think it's an improvement to both parcels, and after they're combined, it'll be one. And then certainly in thinking of plant material, this is a much more diverse plant schedule. So that's an improvement as well. Both properties, don't have this level of plant diversity or the opportunity for groundwater recharge to occur. So to me, it's an improvement.
Thank you.
And so Alexis, on this, probably not so much of a concern to this group, but there's lighting on this page, if to the right there. And then the final page is details of how we plan to construct the reinforced lawn, all the different layers of gravel that go into that, which is why why and how it remains permeable. Below that is a hedge, a fence system that's concealed in an evergreen hedge. So all you see is the plant material and not the fence structure itself. And to the left is the bonded aggregate on the bottom there. It would be an aggregate that is a native river grit, I believe is what some suppliers call it. And then above that is the permeable paver detail for the walkways. And then all those materials are called there on this schedule. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sure, Ms. Knight?
Just a question, is this a planted lawn, or what do you mean when you say lawn, reinforced lawn, just to?
Yes, it's an actual lawn, and it's what makes it reinforced. If you see the detail there, is you have those layers of different grit size aggregates, so that the top layer, which is where the root zone of the turf would be, has below it the ability for water to pass through, and basically the lower two layers serves as somewhat of a reservoir until water recharges back into the ground.
What is the fiber reinforcement?
It's a mixture. It's an additive to the soil that basically, when pressure is put on it, it locks it into place. We use it, and the product is designed to handle like particularly emergency situations where a truck might need to drive on it and it wouldn't bury down.
Is
But
it synthetic or is it natural material?
It's synthetic.
Okay. Any other commissioners have more questions for Mr. Rains? Ms. Knight?
Just looking at the back of the property, I think it would be helpful at some stage just to have some photos, just to see kind of what's behind there and where, what the wetland marking is from where before the stream is piped in, just in terms of like, typically we look at buffer zones and things like that, planted buffers between development and wetlands. The other question I had was just looking at the parking and driveway as to what the plan was for snow removal and where that was envisioned to be happening.
There are small areas for snow removal, but particularly on the vehicular driveways. But I don't know how much snow storage there would actually be accommodated on the site. It would probably be one of the situations where it would have to be removed.
It would help, Alexis, if you could maybe share some aerial photos, if you wouldn't mind. Okay, so that is all just a natural area back there. For the most part, I'd say.
Yes, all off our site on neighboring property.
Yeah, well, all here
So
with us on Earth.
to get your bearings, here is Route 1, Westport Ave. This is where the old Pepperidge Farm factory used to be. It's now the 595 Westport Ave apartments. This had formerly been, or maybe it still is, the Pepperidge Farm research and development site and their associated parking garage and parking lot. This is another development that you had approved a few years ago. And so there is this intermittent water course that comes down
There.
to the property, ends approximately here. like I said, I'll send a copy of the wetland map. There is some associated wetlands along the water course. But then from here on out, it is piped and eventually goes across Westport Ave out to Indian Brook, which is a tributary to the Saugatuck River.
Thanks, Alexis.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Applicant team, do you have any more that you'd like to add?
If it's your pleasure, we'd be happy to share with you the architectural plans so you have an idea of what's proposed. If that's not something you'd like to see, that's fine too.
I mean, honestly, I don't know that it has bearing. Being an architect, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just like,
Understood? No, if you'd like
You
to
know,
see it, we're
save everybody's time.
sure. Mr. Grothier is available, but that's fine if it's not something you'd like to see.
Well, Finefield does good work. I'm sure it's beautiful.
They are
Um,
posted on the webpage as well.
there you go.
Can I circle back to the stormwater management plan just to make sure that that has been submitted to the Public Works engineering department for their review? Since you are discharging to the city pipe, they're going to be reviewing that, and I just want to make sure that they're good to go.
Well, we have not yet filed with a site plan application with the with the Planning and Zoning Commission. Once we do,
Mhm.
that would be one of the required referrals, not only to Public Works, but WPCA, fire, TMP, and one that I'm missing. So certainly the Department of Public Works will review the stormwater management plan. And if there are any issues or modifications necessary, they will share that with us and we'll have to respond accordingly.
And so as far as timing, when do you plan to file for that?
We plan to file sooner as opposed to later, but some of it is dependent upon if there are any revisions that this commission deems appropriate that we would then want to incorporate into the plans for the site plan application.
Okay, so I would go ahead and in advance of the P&Z filing, reach out to the DPW engineering department
Sure.
to get their approval.
Okay.
I just want to add, we have had preliminary talks with TMP
Mhm.
on this project regarding road alignments and the such. Some of the road is on our property. Not really the purview of this commission, so I didn't talk much about it, but we have been in discussions with them about this project, and drainage was one of those topics, but we'll talk to DPW as well.
Great. Okay. Ms. Knight has another question.
Yeah, I think it just for going forward, it would be helpful to really understand, especially in the upland review area, the synthetic material that's getting put in and kind of what how the leaching of that over time is going to be mitigated.
Okay. Agreed.
So
All right.
as Attorney Suchi had, just one last thing, as
Mhm.
Liz had noted, it is a significant regulated activity. By your regulations, significant regulated activity does require a public hearing among some other findings on your part. It sounds like, though maybe we're not quite ready to schedule the public hearing, we'll come back in 2 weeks and then perhaps have a better idea for the timing of the public hearing.
Well, as I understand the regulations, you shall not hold a hearing unless you either determine the activity has a significant impact, that there's a petition filed by 25 members of the public, or that you find that a hearing would be in the public interest. So perhaps that determination could be made either now or at the latest at the next meeting. I think the application documents, including the analysis by Land Tech, has demonstrated that there isn't a significant impact, but we can certainly have further discussions about that at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we'll see you back in 2 weeks then, 28th of July? No,
22nd.
See you second.
22nd.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time.
Moving on to discussion. Oops, sorry, Alexis.
Sorry to interrupt. I wanted to to note that the engineer who is away and has poor Wi-Fi has requested if the chair would consider moving 215 Martin Luther King Drive up to the top for discussion, so that he can end his long distance call. Otherwise, you can quickly go through the two other items. That's up to you, Chairman Clarkey.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Do we need to move to agenda, amend the agenda?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
So moved. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
I'll give it to Paul. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, Andy, you're up to, let's see,
to
215
the best.
Dr. Martin Luther King Drive.
And so I'll just, you've seen this before. This is a existing parcel that had a 2005 wetland permit that included the partial filling of a wetland and in return the wetland creation. That initial permit sought to construct a warehouse on the property. The new owner does not want to construct any buildings. They'll be using it for outdoor vehicle storage. They're a moving company, and they would be transferring the permit in their name and finishing the unfinished items remaining from that initial permit. So there's a draft resolution to approve in your packets. Basically, it just takes all of the existing conditions of the 2005 permit that are relevant, and allows for the revised site plan. So the only revision is that there is now a swirl separator for stormwater quality treatment and no buildings. Mr. Sulman, ladies, jump on in if there's.
I don't have much to add. The site will basically remain as is, other than removal of a temporary trailer that's currently on the property, if you've seen it, and the addition of a hydrodynamic separator. It's one of those manhole swirl chambers, removes oils and sediment and the such. That's an addition above and beyond what the previous approval had, where we were just discharging directly into a basically stormwater wetland or wetland creation. So now we're getting some treatment, pre-treatment and treatment prior to going into that wetland that actually needs to be finalized with plantings, which we're looking to do. Happy to answer any questions.
So the suggested special conditions would be the posting of the bond. So this would be a posting by the new owner to get rid of the old owner's bond, to stabilize stockpiles when they're doing the work within the wetland creation area, to have a professional wetland scientist assess the site for success, to complete the plantings, and those are the main items.
Commissioners have any questions? Hearing none, I guess I will move to approve the memorandum dated July 7th for S052223B as written. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Heather Breslin, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed as far as I can tell, or abstaining? Okay,
Thank you all.
you bet. Enjoy.
Thanks.
All right, so let's just imply that my motion to alter the agenda extends to returning to where we left off, which is S25-654, 26 Devil's Garden Road.
All right, so this application you've reviewed multiple times. It was received at your May 13th meeting. Following that receipt, the applicant made some revisions based on both your comments and their interaction with the zoning department. So there is a revised site plan posted on the pending application webpage, which I can share if that's easiest for the applicant. I'm thinking. Second. So, perfect. So again, at the bottom of the page is Devil's Garden Road. The
Hang on a
existing
second,
residence
Alexis.
and
We're not
garage.
seeing it.
Yes, you're not seeing it.
Nope.
Hmm.
I'm
Well,
not seeing it.
well,
There we go.
share. There we go.
Bingo.
Apologies.
No worries.
Devil's Garden Road. A driveway, residence, garage. At the garage and these steps down, there's a fairly good change in elevation from higher driveway to the lower rear yard. This was the rear yard approximately here. Wetlands were delineated bisecting the previously existing yard. The area in the very rear, which is hatched, is the area of wetlands that was disturbed, and this is the activity that was cited in the order. Additionally, there was construction of a shed greenhouse structure that is now proposed to be removed. And also additionally was the construction of a small deck off the garage with a hot tub. The deck is proposed now to be removed and replaced with a stone patio, and the hot tub moved over to meet the zoning setback. Other than that, I don't think that anything had changed from the previous plan, and give the applicant an opportunity to add anything if they wish.
Is Frank? I'm not sure if Frank is here.
Yep, Frank
He
Murphy's
is
here.
here.
Okay. Frank, are you going to speak or do you want me to speak?
No, I'll speak. With regard to the hot tub, it turned out that the building setback line, which didn't exist when this home was built back in 1934, and when the hot tub was placed, Ms. Shack was unaware that a 14 inches of it was outside of the building setback line. So the change is to move the hot tub 30 inches to the left as you're looking at the drawing, and then replace the wooden deck with stone. It's been approved by the zoning enforcement officer. The second thing is on the potting shed. It turns out that part of that is encroaching on the neighbor's property. So we are going to remove the potting shed, and what will remain in that area is a planted raised garden. And other than that, the plan is identical to what was previously submitted. The one question we have on the resolution is the amount and size of the bond of $5,180. And we would request that that be either waived or reduced, because the only real work that's required is to do the plantings under the proposed plan, which is outlined in detail on the plan. And it would appear that a bond of that size and for that period of time is excessive. So we would request that that be either reduced or removed.
Alexis, could you remind us of the process related to changing, or first of all, I mean, how the bond is calculated?
For the just pull it up. So we have what we call our calculator. It is a spreadsheet that has costs that have been standardized. So, for example, there is a cost per shrub, per tree, per seeding. For if there's removal of material, don't have my calculating sheet open, but for this bond, right, the total bond came to 5,180. The bulk of that bond is just on the cost of the plants, and so that is the city's, the 3,628 is the city's estimated cost for the, if the property owner did not complete the corrective action, that is the estimated cost of completing the planting plan based on standard price per units in our spreadsheet. The remainder that's beyond the 3,628 include the installation of silt fence and the installation of demarcation boulders. And then there's a small amount for the removal of the structure of the shed.
Okay.
That's how that's calculated. So typically with the corrective action application, the bond is really the only thing that would, not the only thing, but is the main instrument to compel the permittee to complete the work.
Got it.
Well, if I may, I would point out that the planting plan calls for a single white birch tree, 16 shrubs and 14 perennials. And that's the extent of the work to be done. And in terms of the removal of the shed, that's more of a zoning issue than a wetland issue.
Okay, well, let's see. Do we so as far as you're aware, Alexis, the calculation was done based on the number of plantings that Mr. Murphy just outlined.
Right. So it's the cost of the purchase of the plantings and the installation of the plantings. If
Ms.
the
Shack?
plantings were not done.
Okay, Ms. Shack, do you know off the top of your head what it will cost to install those
I will
plants
be
and such?
I will be doing it myself, so it's not going to cost me 5,100 or 306. I don't know the materials. I'm sure the tree size, the shrubs will be a significant amount because that's fine. That's what I understand.
Okay.
The planting of it, I don't see it costing me that much to do personally.
Well, so
I'm not a flight risk. That's what I think of a bond as. So
well, yeah,
I'm not
that
going
is the
anywhere.
point though, is that we unfortunately would not have the convenience of having you provide the labor to plant the plants if for some reason something happens. So I guess I don't know, Alexis, at this point, are we at a
It's just, I'm sorry if I can interject. Sorry
sure,
to interrupt.
please.
It's just, I spent a lot of money so far. I understand everything. I've been pretty compliant.
Yeah.
This is just a lot on top. I still have other things that I have to continue to pay on top of this with this. So, I would really just ask for your grace and, lowering it or, just give me a little break, please. Thank you.
And I will add that it's I don't think that the commission sees the bond as a flight risk, as you will. They generally, I'd say 99% of the permits that the agency approves, whether they are corrective action or proposed activities, the commission requires a bond for planting. So it's, I just want to let you know that you're in no way singled out, or
Oh, I'm not saying
Yeah,
I am.
yeah.
Sorry,
or
that's not what I'm saying.
you're right.
It
It's a
just
very
seems that-
generic calculation.
It just seems to be a lot of money when I'm, just.
It
whatever.
does. Like Mr. Murphy said, Alexis, do we have any flexibility with how we define, the greenhouse?
So you can, if you're
Greenhouse.
not concerned about, bonding for that, I had added $600 for the deconstruction and the removal of that,
Okay.
based on an estimate from the building department. So that's
If I can interject again, I'm sorry to interrupt again. The wood is the timber that's made with the structure of the greenhouse will be repurposed because we'll store it. It's not something we're gonna get rid of, just so it's good.
I think I'd be
timber.
comfortable, Alexis, if the rest of the commission is comfortable with maybe seeing if we can be flexible with that portion of it. Is that something you're comfortable with, or maybe I'll let Miss Knight chime in. Maybe she's got more wisdom to share here than I do.
No, I don't have something on that. I just had a
Oh.
question for Alexis and just to flag on the plan. Typically, like when we've been looking at applications and looking at zones and up to the wetland agency, this is kind of unusual in the sense that we have lawn on a wetland and fill that we're leaving. So I still have a concern about how we're protecting the wetlands in terms of having a lawn without any buffer. We're just using boulders as a demarcation, which doesn't have much filtration of activity or additives that typically go onto a lawn into the wetlands. So I just have a concern about, having the lawn abutting, actually running over the wetlands up to the wetlands and just using boulders, which actually they physically demarcate, but they have no benefit in terms of filtering additives, which will cause harm to the wetlands.
Okay, so we've switched gears back from
right.
the bond to the application itself. So maybe let's focus on that. Let's give the bond topic a break for a second. Okay, so I hear Ms. Knight's concern. Do any other commissioners have thoughts in that neighborhood, one way or another?
I mean, we see a lot of applications, so I'm just trying to be consistent in terms of how we treat applications and the logic and kind of general protections that we, advocate.
Yep. Nobody?
Well, I
All right.
but I'm having trouble remembering all the details of the application. Was this lawn existing?
This lawn was here when I moved into the house in 2015, and as far as I know, before that.
So in response, I think I've seen this as a compromise that is where we are not necessarily getting everything we may want, but Ms. Shack isn't either. So that's how I'm seeing it. That's just speaking for myself.
So sorry, just to go back to the, oops. Where the boulders are proposed, it is where the previous limit of lawn, there had been a split rail fence that is still marked here on the sides of the existing lawn area, and that fence had done an arc around. And then beyond that fence, this is the area that had been recently cleared.
I guess, Catherine, what were you thinking? What would you
be more comfortable with?
I would be more comfortable with in the planting plan, either like just in front of the boulders or just behind the boulders, to have a little bit more conscious plantings that would act more for better filtration of additives and runoff from the lawn.
Well, if I may, I'd like to point out that the area of the lawn within the wetlands is very small, as shown on the plan. The second thing is, this house was built in 1934 or thereabouts. The lawn is exactly as it existed when my client purchased the property in 2015. And from aerial photographs, it appears that the lawn area has existed in that small portion of the wetlands for a very long time, perhaps as long as from 1934. And it our soil scientist didn't see any issue with the lawn, and had recommended that the existing lawn area remain intact as it is. There's been no showing of harm or claim of harm of any kind to the wetlands. The total wetland area is 6.4 acres, and this is just a small tip of it that's being affected, if at all. And so we think that the homeowner shouldn't be required to take up the lawn. Actually, your regulations and the state statute are designed to protect residential properties and to let the property owner continue to maintain the residential property as any ordinary homeowner would do. And so I think it would be unreasonable to require that the lawn be removed for that area. In terms of planting the shrubs there, we can talk to the landscape architect, I suppose, about whether any of the shrubs should be moved in there. But as you see, they're all into the wetland area and laid out in detail. In planting, maybe some of those could be removed, but once again, it doesn't seem to be something that's justified by what the claimed violation was, or in the use of the property, which should remain basically intact.
Ms. Knight?
Yeah, I wasn't saying to take up the lawn. What I was speaking about was just the runoff, which I think is fairly well established if you look on any scientific or looking at the problem of the runoff of nitrates and over-fertilization into wetland habitats and aquatic environments.
We don't.
Is looking at a filtration. So looking at the planting plan along the boundary of the lawn and the wetlands to have better filtration of runoff from lawn. As well, all I'm flagging, because that's something that we've looked at it in pretty much every application that we have that comes in front of the commission. And that's part of what the act is in place to do, is to protect it. And so, yes, it's a small portion onto a much larger wetlands, but you then have the error of the commons. If you don't look after one and everybody does it, then all of a sudden then you have a problem. And so it's about looking consistently at each application with the same standards.
Well, I don't know what the contours are, but but visually the area is relatively flat, and so it's not an area that's prone to to any significant runoff.
All right, so, yeah, going back to commissioners, obviously the staff memo contains a draft resolution. At the end of the day, the resolution is yours and you can change it however you want. And so that includes modifications to the bond if you wish, and you can also propose modifications to the plan, for example, adding the requirement that 4 additional shrubs be planted in parallel line directly behind the boulder row, for example.
Okay. So Catherine, I'll put you on the spot. Do you want to, and I would not say add more shrubs because that's just going to add to the bond issue. Maybe verbally
Or
explain how you would like to see improvements made, and then we as a commission can discuss it.
Yeah, I don't have the full planting plan in front of me, but it would be beneficial to probably put more of a planting buffer of what's available. Because the contours do go down and it does run down into it.
Okay, so we've got 6 VDs, 6 LBs.
right, so you have a total of it's in the staff report, I believe. So many things open.
Commissioner Clocky,
Yes, sir.
can I ask Ms. Knight a question?
Please.
Would it be feasible or would it be acceptable to her if there were a line of shrubs behind the boulders? You know, if there was like a 3-foot line of shrubs across there, so the ones that are being proposed, what they're planting, if they were just moved and created a plant line, you know, if that would satisfy what she's looking for.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't need
it's
to be in the
not
middle of
just me,
this.
it's the whole like commission or whatever, but it's looking at, you know, what from a root infiltration on the list is going to provide the best.
Okay. So to move this along, I'm just going to we've got 3 commissioners that have been quiet. So this is your time. Either I'm going to put it to a vote now, or you can chime in and give us your thoughts. Because we can't we gotta keep things going here.
I mean, I agree. I think sorry.
Sorry. I mean, if we move a few shrubs, it does have a native seed mix as well that's being seeded, so that will provide infiltration. But if moving a few shrubs, you know, helps this move forward, that's fine with me.
Okay. Thanks, Cheryl. Heather?
My sentiments exactly.
Ed? Okay. So now, Ms. Knight, we got to pull up this plan again, Alexis, or maybe we can put it on Alexis. We love giving homework to Alexis. Can you possibly identify any number of shrubs that could be relocated to a position that provides a bit better uptake of potential sponging of unpleasant chemicals into wetland, theoretically?
So I'd say that you have 2 that are relatively close already. And so then if there were to be 3 additional shrubs,
Can we do it without adding shrubs?
Sure, or 3 shrubs.
Of the
I think you can say that maybe five of the shrubs. Yeah, so there's a total of 27 shrubs proposed on the two properties.
Okay.
And so perhaps leave it up to the applicant and but require that at a minimum of 5 shrubs be planted parallel to the demarcation boulder row.
Behind or in front?
Be within 5 feet to the.
Well, why not put them at the edge of the lawn? And I think you ought to specify the kind of shrub. I don't know whether the shrubs that are proposed meet your criteria or the sponge effect or not.
I think
we'd have to
any
ask
of them
the
would be
landscape
fine.
architect about that.
I think they're all fine. Lynn, where do you want them? In front or behind the boulder?
I could do behind so it's within 5 feet.
5 feet of the room.
Yeah, I mean, just to buffer that area, and then behind that is where everything is, like the plants are speckled in the plant mix and all, or the
Okay.
wetland mix.
Okay.
I could
All right.
fade in.
Sounds good. I see no other hands raised, so I'm going to keep pushing then. And I see Lexus. Lexus, I took notes, but it looks like maybe you were too. So I am going to move to adopt the memorandum dated July 7th for S25-654 with 2 edits. One being a reduction of the bond by $600 to give the benefit of the doubt for the removal of the structure. I won't even call it a greenhouse over the planting bed. And also to alter the planting plan to have at least 5 shrubs placed parallel to the boulder demarcation within 5 feet of the boulders on the side away from the lawn. So no additional plants, just rejiggering of a couple of them. All right, you got that, Alexis? You're muted. I'm going to assume that's a yes. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Paul, second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
There you go. All opposed? Any abstentions? Paul, your video is freaking out, so I don't know what you did.
I know, though, I've been having, I don't know if it's a bad link, but mine keeps freezing up.
So were you, what was your vote? Sorry.
I was for it.
Okay. All right,
Yes.
so that's unanimous. All right, Ms. Shack, thank you for your patience. Thank you for playing along, and good luck. Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Murphy.
You're welcome.
All right, take care. All right, moving on then to S25-655, 12 Riverwalk Lane.
Okay, so this application is still tabled. Ms. Rowley is still working on completing her application. I emailed her earlier today and noted that I would be circling back in early August in advance of your deadline to render a decision on her application.
Very good. I hope she's doing okay. We already talked about MLK. Moving on to S25-656, 23 Glenwood Avenue.
This
Moss.
application was received at your June 10th meeting. During the initial discussion at the receipt of the applicant heard your feedback and is working on getting additional site information to figure out what their options are for altering the site plan. So they've asked to have the matter tabled until they're prepared to come back to you with some potential revisions.
Love it. Moving on, S25-657, 19 Park Street. Why does that one not ring a bell for me?
Because they did not, it was also received at the June 10th meeting. They were not in attendance Then the meeting after that was the meeting that you canceled. So you haven't actually seen them. You did see it as part of a cease and desist order show cause hearing where Attorney Dolberg appeared on their behalf. This one is also tabled for now. Lee DeMarco from my office, and I met with one of the owners of the property earlier today to discuss the scope of the application and how the scope of the application needs to mimic the full activities that are cited in the order.
Okay, seems a reasonable request. We try. Okay, great. Well, gosh, I think that shoots us straight down the road to determination of permit need for 70 Witch Lane.
Right. So way back on June 10th, you had a discussion regarding determination of permit needs. So as you recall, there's minor permits that are administratively approved, and those are typically very minor activities within an upland review area. The state statute prohibits administrative review of any activity within a wetland or within a watercourse. The Ms. Horvath, who is the owner of 70 Witch Lane, emailed me seeking to install a shed. The initial location was within a wetland, and I informed her that will definitely require a wetland approval process, wetland commission rather, agency, whoever you are. And so then she returned with an alternate plan that has the shed proposed within the upland review area. However, this portion of the upland review area is on the other side of a small watercourse with a narrow band of inland wetlands between the house and where the shed would be. And so with any application, and I've done this before, generally most minor permits are very clear. It's a clear minor, or it's a clear going to the agency. Every once in a while, there's circumstances that are kind of unique to a property where I don't know if I'm necessarily overstepping my administrative jurisdiction by issuing a minor permit. So I brought it to you. And at the June 10th meeting, you had a lot of questions for me, and more than 50% of them I could not answer. So following that lovely time, you suggested that perhaps the property owner attend. And so she is here now. I will try to share my screen real quickly and just.
And if I remember, Alexis, our questions just were around the use of the shed and how building materials be transported, and also foundation, if there was going to be anything like that, would, right? I don't know where that all just came from, but some corner of my brain.
Yeah, it was also the size of the shed and the runoff from the roof, and not
the type of foundation, right?
There was a lot of issues with it.
Questions. They're not necessarily issues until we get answers that we don't like.
Right. Well, we didn't know, we couldn't answer the question of whether it was without knowing this.
Okay.
Ms. Horvath.
So the size we were thinking about was 12 by 12. I think the height, we were looking at 15, which we were trying to stay in guidelines. But if there are other guidelines, we're flexible on the size. For the use, it would mainly be for storage. We have some furniture on our deck that would be nice to not have it sitting out all winter. Then some gardening things.
Bicycles.
Our bicycles, we need somewhere to put.
Wheelbarrows.
A couple of wheelbarrows. And then as far as how we would transport them, we do have a small footbridge that we had worked with Alexis about a year ago to get approved. It's how would you describe it?
It's
like wood.
2 planks set side by side, or 3 planks set side by side, right?
Yeah. Yes.
There you go. Posts. Fine.
Yeah. We haven't quite finished the bridge. But
We're going to plank over that with some wood just to make it aesthetically look a little nicer. But that's pretty much the basic bridge we're going to use.
And how did you guys propose to actually get this 12 by 12 shed built back there?
Oh, we're probably going to just buy a kit and put it together ourselves.
So hand carry everything back there?
Yes.
Okay. And foundation wise, what are you thinking?
I was thinking on just using the unfooted pier blocks.
Yep. So it's a wood frame structure that's going to be a few inches above the ground. Probably have
Correct.
gravel underneath it.
I'd put a little gravel. I'd like to put a little gravel underneath it, put the pier blocks, and then when I build the floor, I'd like to just put a moisture barrier.
Yep. Did you have plans for any gutters or anything like that?
No.
Just let it drip onto the ground. Okay. How far, remind us if you could, Alexis, can you zoom in on that and remind us how far this shed is from the wetland line? Please. Oh, we got the X-ray version of the aerials here.
So this is the approximate location of the shed. And then I actually don't know if this is, oh, here's a scale. So maybe a
Like-
little less than that. So this is the scale.
What's that?
Probably more like 15 feet is what it looks like, I'd
18
say.
feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had measured, and I believe that's where the 30 feet came from. I wrote that in, but we did actually measure it.
So maybe the shed is just drawn in the wrong location here.
Might
You
be
didn't get
further
the little
back here.
scale out to draw it perfectly. Okay. And those are 1 foot topo lines?
These are, yes.
Okay. So it's about a 1 in 30. Oh, I'm sorry, 1 in 15 pitch. Was that 7%
Right.
grade?
Right. I think where the intended location was the relatively
Flat spot.
flatter spot here.
Okay. Okay. So I think that pretty much helps me wrap my head around it. Other commissioners, do you have specific questions you'd like them to answer?
I have a question. What is the process that you would go through to make sure that the shed was approximately 30 feet from the wetland? Would you have a surveyor stake it, so that there were no mistakes, basically?
I can if you'd like me to, but I would just stake it myself. But if you would like our surveyor to come out, he's been out here several times. He can come out and stake it and incorporate it into the survey.
What do other commissioners think
Or we could
about
measure it and include a buffer in case of error, if that's an option.
Yeah, I guess that one concern that I just have is that, trying to find something in space is a challenge. When, you don't have, great starting points. So.
And I assume staff will probably be heading out there at some point just to double check that everything is as was described by you. So it'd be good to have something for them to go off of. Or even if it's just a.
We would measure from the stream.
Yep, exactly what I was going to say. Just measure from the stream, pick what that number is, and just bring along a tape. Or what do you do, Alexis? Do you tape? You just how
That's what
far
we
is
do.
one of your steps? Oh, you do have a long tape. Okay.
We do both.
Yeah. All right. Ms. Knight.
So I guess just going back to Alexis's question, you wanted to know whether this was a minor or are there guidelines as to what in there?
There are, and I can quickly read to you. So in the wetland regulations, we define what regulated activities are, and then under regulated activities, you further define what a minor regulated activity is. So that means activities that will result in no greater than minimal impact on any wetland or watercourse. Additionally, the following shall apply. No activity shall be considered a minor regulated activity if any portion of the activity occurs within a wetland or watercourse. No on-site septic installation, doesn't apply, yada, yada, yada. No activity resulting in the deposition or grading of more than 100 cubic yards of material within an upland review area shall be considered a minor regulated activity. So of the three kind of specifics that it talks about a minor regulated activity under the definition of regulated activity, none of those are really triggered. And then when you go to section section 12, which talks about action by your duly authorized agent. The agency may delegate its duly authorized agent to authority to approve or extend an activity that is not located in a wetland or watercourse when such agent finds that the conduct of such activity would result in no greater than minimal impact on any wetland or watercourse, and that the proposed activity is considered to be a minor regulated activity. And that's really kind of all that we have. So when making the determination of minor versus intermediate versus significant, other than those definitions of regulated activity, what we're looking at are the scope of the activity. So how much disturbance, how much land disturbance, and therefore likely impact during construction the activity would have. And then in addition to the amount of disturbance, so this is a 12 by 12 shed, which is minor. In addition to that, we look at the proximity of the activity to the wetland or watercourse. So we're regulating within 100 feet. And so we're looking at, okay, is the shed generally at least 30 feet away, actually is where we're comfortable regulating minor activities. Closer to that, I tend to bring things back to you.
Jeez. Ms. Knight.
Just one last question. So would that be documented in your files? So like if, you know, because I'm just raising the questions because we have properties change hands over time. And so I'm just trying to understand, like then somebody comes in front of us as an enforcement because the next owner has decided to put in a bridge saying there was a bridge grandfathered and I've put in a foundation and I've made this other structure. So just to say, like, is there documentation just for kind of how this got there to say it was approved with being raised up with no foundation, etc.?
Yeah, so if we were to, for an application to do the shed, I would, whether it's administratively approved or something that goes before you, we would need a little bit more defined information. So the zoning permit would need that as well. So a sketch confirming the dimensions of the proposed structure, a description or a sketch of the proposed foundation, and then a map. In this case, it would be also just a GIS map showing the location drawn to scale. And then just like your permits, minor permits can also and often do contain special conditions. And so it's in those special conditions that I would note that there's no machinery that is allowed to cross the watercourse, that only the existing footbridge could be used to gain access to this location. And notes about the foundation, I guess.
I think with those notes, I'm comfortable.
Sounds like a minor to me.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Anybody else feel differently? Okay. That's all you need from us then, right, Alexis?
Yes, we're good. Excellent. So, Ms. Horvath, I will email you tomorrow. I'll just need that I think you had initially filled out the application and just kind of cleaning up some of the the sketch and the locational information to make sure that that distance is scaled appropriately and that it's shown in the right location.
Okay, got it.
All right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Where are we?
The end.
The end.
Minutes of June 10th.
Minutes of June 10th. Anyone? Bueller?
I'll make a
I
motion to
took a look at
accept the
them.
minutes.
I'll second
Okay.
that.
Oh, geez. All right. All in favor or any discussion? No. All in
No.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right. And Heather, you gonna abstain?
Yeah.
All right.
And I'm sorry,
Okay.
who made that motion? Was that?
Uh,
I made the
Oh, no, it's Tom.
motion.
Sorry. Thank you.
Conservation initiatives. What's happening?
Ugh,
Oh,
nothing to report.
okay. Let's see. Did the big bonehead, I mean, big beautiful bill affect any money that Norwalk had coming for?
Knock on wood, so far not yet.
Okay.
We're navigating that currently.
All right. Cool. That's good. Anybody else?
Nope.
Thoughts?
I don't know if
Feelings?
everybody saw that the AstroTurf up in Broad River was nixed. The city
Great.
council said no to the AstroTurf.
Great.
Nice.
Good.
Somebody also threw Alexis under the bus and said, well, if it was so important, Alexis should have been at the meeting. So
Well,
it was one of those anti-environmental people.
Alexis, you should be everywhere all
I
the
know
time.
who you mean. What's that? Sorry, Heather.
Oh, I just said you should be everywhere all the time.
All the time.
Reports, Commission Chair, like you doing okay? Oh, I lost his light. Okay. Senior Environmental Officer. I'm sorry, I was talking about, that was me. I'm the
I was
Commission
just
Chair.
gonna say, are
You're
you
the-
not? Did I
I'm-
lose my mind?
I before this call, I had a 2.5-hour plan review call.
Gee.
Barely had time to eat something, and I'm still in the
Oh.
New York office. I still have to get home.
Oh.
So, and I got here before most people this morning. So yeah, I'm a little fried. So
I'm
I
sorry.
don't have anything to say. I'm the chair. Alexis, do you have anything to say since you're the officer? That was a-
I will note, I will be sending you all another email. One of the things that the city has done finally is to establish official norwalk.gov emails for all of you.
Oh, that'd
In
be
an
nice.
effort to, when there is an FOI, Freedom of Information Act request, it is good practice to have city business, and when you are corresponding as a conservation commissioner, you are acting on behalf of the city. It's good practice to have related email correspondence be limited to those email addresses. So I'm going to be sending you out some information that's going to require that you come into City Hall and meet with our IT folks who will set up your email for you. And like almost everything today, it requires two-factor authentication. So you'll need your cell phone so that it can send you a text to confirm that it's you and all that fun stuff.
And then we can all get emails from everybody in the town and not just you.
No, so it would be, I need to check with IT, but the emails to you would actually then come to me, and then I could send them out to you. The idea is that you don't want to have any ex parte communication. So if someone's emailing
Right.
just you about a pending application, that's not good.
Right.
And so this is a way that it would basically, if someone were emailing just Heather Breslin at norwalksea.org, it would go to me, and then I would send it out to all of you. Or it may automatically, if it goes to one, it goes to, I
I
haven't
see.
quite figured that out. But that's part of the issue, is to reduce the risk of having a side conversation where there really shouldn't be one.
Interesting.
We then email all the information to our Norwalk emails, not the email, our other email.
Right. Right.
Makes sense.
Yep. So I'd start sending, and this will take some time to get it all, everyone's email set up, but eventually, right, I'd be sending the Zoom invite would be coming to your official email and your meeting packet and all that fun stuff.
I love it. Yeah. Could have
So,
been
but
done that
what
years ago.
you want separation. It's a good thing. You want separation of your city
Yes.
business from your
Personal.
personal email account. If any of you have ever been part of a Freedom of Information Act request, you would readily sign up to get a separate email.
Okay.
So that will
Cool.
be coming out. I'm going to try to send that out later this week once I circle back with the IT department to make sure that I fully understand what they're doing.
Right. Well, one fun note, if anyone hasn't downloaded the Merlin Bird app, you really should, just separately.
Is it awesome?
It's
It
amazing.
is.
I've gotten a new hobby because I needed one. I was out of hobbies.
I would have to say I don't have a lot of apps, but that is the
It's
best
great.
app on my phone.
I've already got it too.
Yeah, I had it before I finally started using it, now I'm hooked. So anyway, that was my official conservation initiative.
Nice.
Let's pitch.
Okay, well, on that note, I will move to adjourn the meeting. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Heather, that was a second from Heather.
Yeah, second, sorry.
Unanimous.
Aye.
Okay, there we are.
Go home, Steve.
Okay.
Go
Have
home.
a great night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.